Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After our fall campaign last month in Astro Knight's Eternity, we're going to get a month of RPGs on the channel this month. And we're going to start that off with a very familiar setting as we play some freeform Call of Cthulhu from Chaosium Inc. Now you're probably wondering to yourself, Phoenix Knight, how are you playing Call of Cthulhu when you're solo? You're obviously not doing an alone You're obviously not doing an alone adventure. You're right, I'm not doing an alone adventure, but I have the guide of another storytelling tool to help me along with that, as we've got the Solo Investigator's Handbook that we're going to be trying out for the very first time here. So we'll be using that to help guide us along with generating a scenario and taking our character through it. Now, I've talked a little bit in the past as well about guided versus handheld storytelling. Now, I've used the two terms interchangeably in the past. I'm going to check the window here real quick. Seems like a pretty calm day, so I'll go ahead and open the window in here to get some fresh air in here. But while I'm doing that, I'll draw a small difference between what I call guided and handheld storytelling. When I talk about handheld storytelling, what I mean is basically you're going through the story of a game. Excuse me, I just had breakfast, sorry about that. When I talk about handheld storytelling, I'm talking about storytelling where the player has no agency, has no real impact on the game. So think something like, and I'm going to take a drink since my throat's a little dry. Think something like a Target for Today, where when it's handheld storytelling, it's almost like the game's playing out as a movie in front of you, and I tend to be very picky around that. Whereas with guided storytelling, the player at least has some agency in the game, and they're able to kind of help tell the story a little bit. This one seems like it's more guided storytelling, where the player actually does have some agency in the game. So we're going to give this a try and see what I think about it. And I haven't done much with the backstory for these characters yet, because some of it I'm going to probably have to make up on the fly. Right, so anyway, here's our character that we're playing today. We're taking out Nicholas Larson, who's a lawyer, we'll say he resides in Arkham currently. His main characteristic of interest is that he is fluent in German because he served in... Where we're setting this game, actually when we're setting this game, we're setting today's adventure in 1926. So this is very much in the aftermath of World War I. We'll say he was born in Providence, Rhode Island. Somewhere up there in the Northeast. So he did serve in the war, which means he's got some skill in firearms, which he would have had from basic training anyway. He's had some exposure to the occult. Obviously, in law, he's a lawyer, so that totally makes sense. Did I forget to do the personal interest skills for this character? Let me look here. 2 interpersonal... No, I think we did all the personal interest skills. Let me look. Actually, let me look at one who survived alone against the flames. No, this actually does look about right for... no, actually, I take that back. We do need to do personal interest skills. How many would they have? Probably 7, I would think. Find the number of skills to 8. So this is probably profession. Seems like profession skills. Maybe that does look about right for the skills. And I might have added points to some of these as well, but No, actually, now that I look at the counts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. That actually looks about right. I probably put points in other places, so I wanted to make sure I had these skills straight. But we are all set for this scenario, so let's jump into it. And the first thing we need to do is we need to roll up our scenario. So this will probably be very familiar to wargamers, where we're basically going to be bouncing from table to table. So we've got a D100 roll that we'll use, and we're going to be doing a fair amount of journaling in this one as well. So I'll probably be pausing quite a bit to make journal entries, so just bear with me on this one. So today's scenario, we'll start off with a D100 roll, which I've got right here. Let's see what our scenario is going to be. Let's see, that's a 17. Your most trusted friend gives you a package and implores you to take it to such and such person. He also tells you not to open the package, but tells you that his life and the lives of thousands depending on you getting the package to its destination. Most trusted friend gives you a package. I'm just making some notes for the journaling later. Implores you to take it to someone. Don't open it, but his life and of thousands depends on package getting there. Alright, so that probably makes the next table is going to be how you receive that, but I'd say that pretty much explains how it's received. Received from a friend. And I think for this one, we'll start it in... If he's a lawyer, I think it probably makes most sense to start this intro entry in the lawyer's office. Okay. Alright, so we'll deal with our story direction roll in a minute, but first I'm going to get the initial journal entry written, so you're going to probably see me pausing, going into Be Right Back screen a fair amount while I do this journaling, so bear with me. So that's our first entry. I'm going to start making my notes for the next entry. Alright, so we'll tab back in. And we'll go through our first journal entry to set the scene for this scenario. So this is from Nicholas's perspective on August 19th, 1926 at 9 a.m. I was just settling into my office to get some work done. I had a trial later this morning, but in my early morning mail, I saw a letter from the court officer informing me that the trial was delayed. With that, I had some time to catch up on paperwork. I didn't get far, though, before my best friend burst into my office. He had on his pretty normal attire, dark suit, hat, and shoes, but they were all disheveled, like he'd been running for a long time. I immediately panicked before my eyes went to the package he had in his hands. I drew in a breath to ask what it was, but before I could get a word out, he shoved it into my hands and told me I had to get this package from San Francisco. How was I supposed to do that from here in New York? Further, he told me not to open it, but that many people would be in danger if the package didn't get there. Now that I'm reading this, I'm going to have to add some words in here. If the package didn't get there, but that I shouldn't open the package. I'd known Frank for a long time, and he wouldn't BS me on something like this. Whatever he was wrapped up in, it was clearly dangerous, and he was trusting me with this. I wanted to know more about it, but it was clear he was in a hurry. I took the package, but as he turned to leave the office, he immediately collapsed. I wasn't sure if it was from exhaustion, but he wasn't responsive when I prodded him. I knew I had to investigate further, if nothing else, in trying to find a way across the country with this package. Okay, so our best friends delivered us a package, and now we have to get it over to him as fast as we have to get it across the country as fast as we can, and I never really specified who it was going to. So maybe that's the first thing I should look at on the package. But before we do that, we need to start a new investigation round. So we'll say this entry, well, we'll determine how long it'll take later based on what we do with that. So we're going to roll for story direction here on the D6. So far we don't have any Mythos points, and actually that brings me to the four dials that I've got. I'll bring them down here. So the 4 dials that I'm going to be using, which my buddy Cthulhu up here will be keeping track of. This big villain dial from Marvel Champions will be our current Mythos value, which is set at 0, as you can see. The island life counter is for his hit points at 13. Then we've got a forest counter at 25. That is his luck. And then 35 for the plains dial is his sanity. So we're going to roll for story direction here, and we've got a story direction table. So this story direction table is the one we're looking at. We add the Mythos to the roll, and so we add the Mythos points to the roll, which is currently 0. And then we'll take story direction from there. Let's see, that's a 55, so we're going to have discovery. Alright, so the discovery, we have a chance to learn something. So let's see what kind of discovery we have. I'm hoping it's something that can help us explain, because he never explained who this package needed to get to in San Francisco. So maybe there's something on the package that can tell us something about that. I'll roll on the discovery table to see if I can get something about that. Let's see, that's a 50. A news report relating to the case. A news report relating to the case. Maybe we saw something. Maybe we saw something in the New York Times. Maybe we saw something in the New York Times about this case. Let's see what kind of a roll it's going to be. We've got a prompt for that. Okay. So 29 is going to be some kind of a history roll. His history is a 20. So we're going to make a normal history roll, and then I'll see if we can piece something together from that. On where I want to go with this. That's a 37. I could spend 17 luck, but I'm not going to because I only have 35 luck. So that roll fails. Let's see if we can get... Let's see. Alright, so we fail the roll. So I guess in order to get a little bit of clarification, I'm going to make a roll on the verbs table, see if I can do something with that. And the way we're going to roll on the verbs table is we're going to do it season ticket. We're going to use season ticket baseball dice for that. So I've got the D6 and the D percentile. D6 is going to be our hundreds digit. We'll roll that -1. So 1 will be a 0. And then 5 will end up being 4. 6 will be a reroll. Okay. So let's see what we can do on the verbs table because I need a little bit more clarification on this one. I'm not sure where I want to go with this yet. All right, that's going to be a 62 because the 1 is a 0. 62 is berate. So berate I can probably work with because he'll snap back. Frank will snap back to attention, I think, and then he'll berate us for trying to ask further questions about this. That's going to be a 129 damage. $73 is blast. Okay, I think I can work with that. So we're still in the office. We've been handed this. We're still in our office. We've been handed this package, and finally, Frank collapses, but he slowly starts to come to. So we ask him who this package is supposed to go to, and he starts to go off on us. He's like, "Are you mad? It's supposed to go to the president of the Silver Twilight Lodge branch in San Francisco." So we'll say, actually, I need a name for that. Going to Silver Twilight Lodge president in San Francisco. I've also got a book of random tables that I can occasionally consult. So I'm going to go. So I've got a book of. I'm going to say, do I have a book of Eldritch random tables? But I do. Here we go. We've got a table of fictional occult scholar names. That will be perfect. All right, that's a 90. So that'll be Professor Hortensia Hale. Okay, I can work with that. All right. Let's see. So this is still kind of more discovery, figuring out what we want to do with that. Okay. So I would say that probably took about an hour, I think, where we were trying to get him to wake up. So we'll call that entry 2, 10 a.m. Right, so we're going to go to be right back again while I type up another journal entry. Okay. I think we can come back into this now, as we've got our new entry set to go. So here's entry 2 at 10 a.m. So this is still August 19th that we're looking at. Frank was still on the floor of my office, but I realized that I didn't know who I was supposed to be delivering this package to. Thankfully, though, after about half an hour, he finally came to. He was still clearly exhausted, but at least seemed like he could talk. I thought I remembered something similar happening to other lawyers from what I'd read in the New York Times, but I couldn't remember anything. Finally, Frank woke up, so I asked him who I was supposed to be delivering this package to in San Francisco. He yelled at me about what I was still doing there, and told me I was supposed to deliver it to the president of the Silver Twilight Lodge in San Francisco, a Professor Hortensia Hale. What was he wrapping me up in? And what the hell is the Silver Twilight Lodge? He also told me that the package had to get there undamaged, or else there would be a huge blast of some kind. I knew now I had to be careful with whatever was inside this package, but I still didn't know what was in this package. Finally, he told me to stop asking questions and get moving. With that, I took off. So I think the discovery of the Silver Twilight Lodge, we're going to call that... I think we're going to call that unsettling. Because, well... Actually, let's call it scary. Because finding out there's going to be a blast of some kind, we don't know what the blast is going to be. We'll bump Mythos up by 2. So that'll bring us up to 2, which will trigger a sanity roll. Oop. Your other 2, Phoenix. So that'll trigger a sanity roll of against a 35 for his sanity. So we're on the Mythos points table now. You've got, depending on what you think of the developments, you could have something unsettling, scary, terrifying, or petrifying. Since we called that a scary situation, that we know there's going to be a blast of some kind, I bumped the Mythos by 2, and we're going to make a sanity roll. Against a 35, that's a 98, so we fail that, which means we lose 1d4 of sanity. We're going to lose 1 sanity, so down to 34 sanity. Entry 3, so now we're adding 2 to our next story direction roll. $86 plus 2 is 88. That's going to be dice roll. Uh-oh. Okay, we're a little randomness. So dice roll. So now we'll pretend that he's stepping outside. But what does he see? So we're going to roll another D100. So now we're on this dice roll table. That's a 1, so we hear something. Which will send me over to the spooky tables, the auditory effect table. Alright, so let's see. So that's the start of the auditory effect table. And here's the rest of that. So we'll roll twice, once for what we hear and where it's coming from. First we hear 92. We hear buzzing. From 31. From everywhere. Oh boy. Okay, so let's see. So we hear buzzing from everywhere. What do we want to do with that? We're probably going to need some more information about this. And I want to roll... We're going to roll up a couple of verbs, see if I can do something further with that. See if I can get a little bit of clarification on what the buzzing might be. Let's see, that's going to be a 71. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with buzzing from everywhere yet. Blab. I could probably do something with blab like it's a low buzz I'm here. Car alarms do not fit with what I have in mind. I'm gonna shut that window. Let me make sure it's not my car. Okay. Of course, as soon as I close the window, the car alarm goes off. Seemed like it was going to work, but unfortunately that's a too modern thing for 1926. I can't really use that. So blab is promising. Let me see what else I can do. Let me see what else for verbs I can do. Let's see, that's going to be... We'll re-roll the 6. Alright, 420... Actually, that's going to be... Yeah, 421. Scream. And... We'll roll one more, but I think I can probably work with this. That's another re-roll. 140. Decompose. Okay, I can probably work with that. So we'll say it's probably like flies. So it's probably, let's see, blab, scream, decompose, and I've got buzzing. Maybe flies feasting on a dead body that was found in the street or something. People are screaming when they see the state of the decomposing body. I could probably work with that. And also, if you guys are stopping by watching this live, feel free to chip in with some of your own ideas. We can make this a fun experience and tell this story together, because sometimes I might have some problems coming up with this story on the fly, but I think we can probably work with that. I think the buzzing is probably flies that we're hearing from everywhere. People are blabbing around what's going on. There's some screaming around, say, a body that's been found in the street. So I'll make some notes there. So flies buzzing around a body in the street. People are blabbing, going about their day. About their days. Screaming when they see the body. That's definitely going to bump up the mythos, I think. So the only question is, what do we call that? Do we call that... What level would I put that to? Would I put that to scary? Well, it's probably probably would be pretty scary to see flies buzzing around a body that's randomly out there in the street. So we are going to call that scary, and I'll bump the mythos up by 2. The next question is going to be, do I recognize the body? There should be a rule for that as well. Let me see if I can find it in here. Here we go. Next question is, how likely do I think it is that I would recognize the body? We'll call it a 50-50. I might recognize the body. So we've got a dice roll for that. But I think... yeah, let's start off with a do I recognize the body. So a 1 to 34 on a D percentile is a no. 35 to 59 is a maybe. 60 to 100 is a yes. That's a 53, so a maybe. So we might recognize the body. Okay, so I need to get a little bit of clarification there. So I've got to figure out if I recognize the body or not. Let's roll up a couple of verbs and see what I can do with maybe getting some clarification on that. Because I'm not completely sure if I recognize the body or not. So we'll roll up some we'll roll a verb or two, see if I can get some clarification on that. Let's see, that's a 126. Cremate. Not sure how much sense that makes with a body. I'm not sure how much sense that makes with flies buzzing around a body. $4.48. Stop. I don't think that really works either, so let's go one more. I'm inclined to say I don't recognize the body at this point because I'm not sure what I can do with those verbs at this point. Let's see, 278. Harass. I don't think with those, I don't think I recognize the body after that. Because there's not really anything I can do that would take me toward recognizing the body, but it's definitely scary for sure. So we're going to bump the Mythos by 2 and make another sanity roll. So now we probably need to... So now I think our next order of business is going to be trying to find a ticket to San Francisco. Which a 32 will pass the roll, so we'll lose 1 sanity. Go down to 33. Other down. And then we'll come back with a... and then we'll go back and be right back so I can put another journal entry together. Let's see, that probably took about... We'll say that took about another hour. What would be a good train line? All right, next entry is ready. So we'll tab back in, and here's our next journal entry. So this is at 11 a.m. after we've just left the office. I finally stepped out of my office as Frank was regaining his bearings. My plan was to see about finding passage to San Francisco. I assumed I would have to piece together a trip by train. I figured New York to Indianapolis, then down to Kansas City, and over to San Francisco from there. Before I could head to the train station, though, I heard buzzing from everywhere outside. I walked around through people talking and going about their day as midday traffic was picking up, with people heading off for lunch. I saw the source of the buzzing was some flies feasting on a body in the middle of the street. People were also screaming when they happened on the body. I looked to see if I could recognize the body, but it was too decomposed for me to recognize. That was another scary development, just seeing a random body in the city. With that unsettling observation, I also heard a different buzzing from the package, but I blocked that out and headed to the train station. So now we're on our way to the train station, getting ready for entry 4. Let's see what we're doing, what kind of story direction we're doing. We're doing another D percentile roll, but we're adding 4 to this. That's an 88. That'll be another dice roll. Alright, so back to the auditory effects table. Actually, no, we're over to dice roll. So we're back on the dice roll table again. That's a 10, so we hear something else. Let's see what we hear. What we hear and where we hear it. $71. We hear breathing. From where? We hear breathing from 71. From the water, which is slowly filling up the room. We're going to roll again because we're outside. So from water filling up a room, that doesn't make sense at all. 64. Upstairs, downstairs. I think I'd want more clarification on that before I use that. So we'll do one. So we'll roll again. 52. Inside an object. Okay, that's actually perfect. From inside an object. So I think from that we're hearing breathing of something from inside the package. But the question is, what are we hearing? So we'll call that inside the package. So that's inside the package that we got from Frank. But now I'm trying to figure out, now I've got to decide, okay, where do we go with this? Let's see. So we hear breathing from inside the package, but the question is, what would we be hearing breathing inside the package, and why would we be hearing it? Let's see if the verbs give me any kind of idea of what I want to do with that. Let's see, 61 is bequeath. Alright, that 6 is a reroll. 322 is Lear. I don't think it would make sense that something's leering at us from inside the package, because that would require them to be able to see. Actually, maybe they can. Maybe they have a way to see. Maybe it's a Mythos creature of some kind, and they can see through a solid object. 469 is translate. Bequeath, leer, translate. Okay. Okay, no, I think I can work with this. So we hear breathing from so we're hearing breathing from inside an object. I'm deciding that we're hearing breathing from the package. We hear so maybe we hear a voice from inside the package where maybe we hear a voice from inside the package that's promising us and maybe the package has got to have some way that the breathing that we're hearing inside the package, maybe it's a human voice that we're hearing, and we're getting so frighteningly unsettled by that. Yeah, I think I kind of like that idea, actually, where we hear a voice, we realize we hear breathing from inside the package. When we listen closer to the package, we realize that we can understand a voice in there, and then translate. Maybe it's speaking a foreign language, maybe it's speaking some other kind of language. Actually, that's going to beg a question of, would we know the language? Or is it speaking in... I guess the question is it speaking in a language we can understand? So let's ask if we understand... Okay, so we hear breathing. So I guess the first question is, do we understand the voice? So we hear breathing and we realize it's actually talking. Which I'm definitely going to be bumping the Mythos from this. So let's ask our question of if we can understand the voice. And I'm going to call it a possible that we would understand the voice. That's a 25, so no, we don't understand the voice. Which means we're going to have to take it somewhere to get it translated, although they're going to think we're crazy on that, but I think we can probably work with that. The question is, do I think this is unsettling? The only thing I'm sure of right now is we're definitely bumping the Mythos from this. Realizing that we can hear a voice from inside the box. So we hear... I'm not sure what I can do with leer. So we hear breathing from inside the package. We don't understand it. So I guess if we don't understand it, bequeath and leer don't make sense. Although maybe leer comes in almost like you get the feeling, like we get the feeling that we're being watched. What just... Okay, that looks like it was that was the charger for my camera that just dropped. So we get the feeling of being watched. I'm going to call that a... Let's see, what do I want to do with that? It's definitely at least scary that we hear breathing, and then we get the feeling of being watched after that. But we don't understand the voice, which is probably even more scary. So I'm going to call that I'm going to call that terrifying. Which will bump Mythos by 5. Which will bring us up to 9 and require a sanity roll. Your other way, Phoenix. $72, we definitely make a mess of the sanity roll there, so we'll be losing 1d4 plus 1 sanity. We'll be losing 3 more sanity to come down to 30. Okay, so let me get that journal entry typed up. And we'll call this about another hour. Okay, got our next entry ready to go. So we'll tab back into game, come back to Notepad. And this is all taking another hour as we're starting to head for the train station. So entry 4 at noon. I headed toward the train station to book my trip to Indianapolis and hope that maybe there was a direct line to San Francisco. Before I got far, though, I started to hear breathing from inside something. I looked around trying to see if I could spot the source of the breathing, but I realized the breathing was coming from inside the package Frank had given me. I listened to the voice to see if I could understand it, but I couldn't. Maybe if I can translate it, I can understand what's actually inside this package, since I still don't know what's in here. I definitely also had the feeling of being watched, so I wanted to be very careful, and I couldn't ask anyone to help me. They'd likely think me crazy. Well, we may have to stop once we get train passage booked and see if somebody can... So maybe that should be our next order of business, is booking passage. Maybe there's an expert in Indianapolis or something that can help me out with this. So I think that'll be our next objective, but let's see what kind of story direction that we get for this one. We're adding a +9, that's 19, so that's downtime. All right, next question is, are we disturbed? This will probably be a time where the scene goes as we expected it to, so maybe I can see about getting passage booked, see if I can figure out this language, see if I can figure out what language it's speaking, and maybe get it translated. So let's find out first if we're disturbed. On a 1 to 80, we are left undisturbed. We're adding +9 to the roll. That's a 37, +9 is 46. We are undisturbed. Alright, so my first objective is booking passage. To San Francisco with this package. Maybe translating, maybe figuring out the language first. And then translating it. So our first order of business, I think, is going to be seeing if we can book passage to San Francisco. Let me see what train fares in the 1920s would have been. Let's see, railroads of the 1920s. Oh, looks like there was a... Okay, this actually looks promising. So I've got an article here that says, from the looks of it, let's see, it looks like there would be direct... It looks like there would have been direct lines between... It looks like there would have been direct train lines between New York and California. So it's probably not all that impossible that there would be train lines directly from New York to San Francisco. So let's make... So let's make a... I think we can find a direct line, but let's make a credit roll. Direct rail line. Let's make a credit rating roll to see what kind of fare we have to pay for this. So his credit rating as a lawyer is a 40. That's a 71, so we're able to find at best a coach line with whatever the cheapest one is. We'll say coach. A success probably would have been like a better fare, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we've got... So passage has been booked to San Francisco. So passage booked to San Francisco, we've got that. Now I want to see if I can recognize the language. So let's go back to our yes-no question on that. So, I know I don't understand the language, but do I recognize it? As a lawyer, Nicholas would probably be dealing with a lot of people on this. And especially in New York, where we're starting this story. So I think we're going to call it a highly likely that he would recognize the language. Which to this yes-no roll, we'll be adding a 40 to it. That's a 51. Maybe? Seriously? I don't think a verb roll is going to clarify that, so I think... I think we're just going to decide that yes, he does recognize the language. Again, there's enough language. There's probably enough languages in New York that he would recognize it, but I don't suppose there's a language table that I can hear or that I can roll on, so I can decide what language it actually is. There is not. So we'll say... let's call it... I guess let's just say it's... What's a language that's going to make sense? I think we'll just call it... We'll just call it Spanish for sake of ease. And now we'll see about finding a translation. So we're on the train. Train ride will probably take about... train ride will probably take about, I would say at least a week, probably. Maybe somebody on the train hears the voice of the package. Somebody who, well, actually, let's make a luck roll, see if it's somebody who happens to speak the language. So, I'm going to make some notes here. So, luck roll. We'll make a luck roll first so we're going to make 2 luck rolls here, which are probably not going to be good. So say we stow it away say we stow the package away with our baggage. Say we stow the package with the bags. Does anyone hear... Oh, shut it, Siri. Does anyone hear the breathing and the talking? And come to ask me about it. Our luck right now is at 25, so we don't have a lot of luck on this one. That's an 87, so no one hears anything. Okay. So I think now we're going to jump the entry forward a week, but the next entry forward a week. But before we do that, this downtime reduces the Mythos by 2. So we'll reduce that down to 7. Other, down. And I'll go ahead and make a journal entry. Alright, so stream be right back. Okay. So this is 1 p.m., let's say. That could have been a luck roll too, but I think it makes more sense to just say there are direct lines. So now our next entry, we're going to jump ahead. So we started on the 19th. We'll jump ahead about 4 days to 23rd. Before that, though, we need to go through our next entry. So this is at 1 o'clock on August 19th, 1926. I finally arrived at the train station with no more distractions and managed to find a direct line from New York to San Francisco. Unfortunately, the fares were very expensive, so the best I could do was a coach ticket. I was informed that the trip would take about a week. I was fine with that, though. With passage booked for later in the evening, I finally sat down to listen to this package. It was clear that I couldn't understand the language, but I discovered upon closer listening that I could recognize it. I had enough clients who spoke Spanish that I could recognize the talking from inside the package was Spanish. Translation was never a problem, as they all spoke English, though. For the most part, the train ride was quiet. So our next entry will jump us ahead, as I mentioned, to August 23rd, 1926. So now we're on the train at this point. So let's call it about, well, we'll see what time I want it to be depending on what kind of story direction we get. So once again, we are adding 7 to our Mythos roll. $64 plus 7 is 71. That's a danger roll. Uh-oh. Let's see what kind of danger we have here. Okay, we'll start on our danger table, so I'll just show off that we've got that. That's our danger table that we're rolling on. That's a 34, which is going to be receive a disturbing phone call or message. If neither of these is appropriate, you either pick up or relayed a piece of information, possibly by an NPC. So disturbing phone call or phone message. I don't know how much sense that makes if we're... Given that we're on a train, I don't know how much sense that actually makes. So I think with that in mind, I'm going to move over to the verbs table to see if I can get a little bit of help there, to see what kind of information we might get from this. So let's make a couple rolls on the verbs table to see what we might have pointed at us. That's a 254. Frustrate. Could be a frustration. Could be... I could probably do something with frustration. Say we maybe run into somebody... Well, let's see. Let's see what else I get here. 449 is going to be strangle. I can probably work with this. And 353 is over here. Okay. I think we can probably work with that. So we overhear. So I guess somebody did hear some strange talking. So yeah, I think we can work with this. All right. Okay, so maybe we're listening, so maybe we're trying to fall asleep, which means this would be later in... We're trying to fall asleep in the evening after it's been a particularly long day. We overhear someone talking about a weird package from the cargo bay. Passengers frustrated that they can't get any sleep, and we're frustrated that this is taking so long. We're frustrated to still have it. Threatens to strangle. Threatens to strangle whoever has package. Well, direct personal threat. So as we get up to investigate, do we recognize anything about this person? Do we recognize anything about the speaker? $58. Another maybe. Alright, so let's see, it's not framed correctly. Okay, so we might recognize something about the speaker, but I'm not sure yet. So So we might recognize something. We obviously can understand, well, we can at least pick up on the tone. Can we understand the language that they're speaking and be able to hear the actual words that they're saying? $82, so we do understand what they're saying, which means they're speaking in a language that we can understand. So we can understand the speaker. Now as we look over this person, is there anything... And it looks like we've got a truck or something making its presence known. As we look over this person, do we recognize anything about them with a visual cue? $33, no, we don't recognize no visual cues that we can pick up on. Alright, so... No visual cues we can pick up on. Alright, because there's something else that we might want to interact with. Probably just generally annoyed that there's something on here preventing other passengers from getting sleep. So I don't know if it's necessarily unsettling. So I don't know if it's necessarily Mythos per se, but maybe they're threatening. You know, maybe that's what they're saying. Maybe they're threatening they're going to smash the. Maybe they're threatening they're going to smash the package, and we're going to be in peril to try to stop them. So I think we'll have to have another entry on the train. So no visual cues. So I think we're going to have another entry on the train. I wanted to cut to San Francisco, but I think once we tie that in, we're going to have to have another entry on the train. So Yeah, I would call that pretty disturbing, but I don't think it's anything necessarily Mythos related. Probably not. So let me make another journal entry, and we'll see what we can do with this. So if they're trying to sleep, it's probably later in the evening. So let's call it about 9:30 p.m. Okay, so okay. All right. So I apologize for a little bit of confusion on going into intermission versus being active. Usually I go into be right back when I'm typing up journal entries like that. So if you see be right back on the screen, don't panic. I'm usually just typing something up. Like in this case, I'm typing up our journal entry for August 23rd, 1926. We're on the train. So now we're on the train to San Francisco at 9:30 p.m. On the train, I was starting to doze off. We'd just passed Kansas City and still had 3 more days before getting to San Francisco. As I started to nod off, I overheard a pair of passengers talking about how some weird talking was keeping them up. It wasn't necessarily loud, but it was constant buzzing to them. From what I could overhear, it sounded like it was coming from the cargo bay, which had to be the package I was trying to get to San Francisco. Obviously, the passenger was frustrated by the buzzing from the package that was preventing them from getting good sleep. but I was just as frustrated from still having this package. I knew I had to get the package translated, but I wasn't sure who I could even ask in San Francisco. I got up to investigate. I knew I could understand them clearly, but when I observed them from afar, I couldn't pick out anything visually. The last thing I heard was a threat to smash the package. I knew I couldn't let that happen. So with that in mind, we're going to do one more journal entry. So we're still on the train to San Francisco. We're going to call this the 25th. So we'll be arriving in San Francisco on the 26th. Let's get our... actually, before we do that, we are going to bump the Mythos a little bit. Because talking from the past... Realizing other people can hear the package talking is at least unsettling, so we're going to bump the Mythos by 1. So we're going to bump the Mythos up to 8. Other up, Phoenix. And then we'll make a sanity roll. That's a 100, so we fail that miserably, and we're going to lose D4 minus 2 sanity. That's a 2 minus 2 is no sanity. Okay, so we bumped the Mythos up to 8 on an unsettling. We'll roll for story direction. Assuming nothing else happens here, this will probably be our last journal entry for this session, but we'll definitely come back to this. Because I'm actually really enjoying this freeform Call of Cthulhu with, again, guided storytelling, so I can determine how things go on this. But let's see what our story direction is this time. We are adding 8 to this roll. That's a 91, which is going to be a 99, and send us to dice roll. So let's see what happens here. $67. Uh-oh, we've got a random event happening. Let's see what our... I thought I saw a table for random events, not rumors. Random event, here we go. Oh, I did have it tabbed. Okay. So let's see what our random event is. Let's see, that's a 94. 94, received notification of the death of a relative or close friend. Again, being on the train, I'm going to rule that one doesn't make sense. You know what? I take that back, actually. I take that back. Our law office would probably know we're on our way to San Francisco. We would have told them what train we were on. So, yeah, I think we can probably work with that. So, notification of a... Yeah. Actually, add the current Mythos. So, 94 plus 8 is going to be a 100. Uh-oh, we've got a Mythos creature appearing. I didn't realize that we added Mythos points to the roll. So, Mythos creature appears. Which means now we need the... So now we need to figure out... let's see, there should be a way to explain what kind of Mythos creatures we've got here. Okay, so we're going to roll up for a random guide on the form that we have. So we've got a Mythos creature. We'll start off with a build. Morning, Doug. How's it going? You're just in time for yet another journal entry in the adventures in this Call of Cthulhu adventure. We're actually just starting entry 7. We've got a Mythos creature appearing on our story with Nicholas Larson. Nicholas Larson, who's a lawyer. Just as a very high-level recap, you can go ahead and you can feel free to watch the entire thing when this is over. we've basically been handed a package by our best friend, discovered that there's something talking in it, and we have to get it to San Francisco as fast as we can. So we're on the train right now, on the way from New York to San Francisco. So let's roll for the build on the train, the Mythos creature. 39 is going to be a 1 to 2, which will probably explain... Okay, so we've got build section there. Then what kind of form does it have? Let's see what kind of form we've got. 48 is solid. And limbs. Let's see, 22 is a biped. Oh, joy. So let's see what we've got here. So we're in... Is there an environment for being in a... I think we're just going to have to call this Earth. So we want solid... Biped. We want solid, so we want Earth. Solid... Is there no biped on here? Solid, biped, and okay, yeah, we can actually probably work with. Yeah, I think we can actually work with that. Even though the build is going to be a little bit smaller, I'm going to take some liberties. That apparently we're being ambushed by serpent people. All right, so for our first order of business, are they going? Let's make a luck roll to see if they can spot us. So we're going to make a luck roll to see if they can spot us. I'm making notes in my notebook off shot for when I make my journal entry later. So our luck right now is a 25. That's a 55. Oh yeah, they see us. That's going to be a bit of a problem. So I think our next question is we're going to have to make a... So let's make a dodge roll next. Actually, they would be attacking us with... They'd be attacking us... Actually, let's make a dodge roll. They're going to try to attack us with a... They're going to try to attack us with a tail. So dodge and attack with their tail. Where's my dodge? My dodge is half my dexterity, which my dex is a 55, so that'll be a 27. I'm trying to dodge it. That's a 67, so we get hit. And we're going to end up taking... Let's see if there's a... Actually, I've got a better idea. I'll be right back. I know I've got a book for this, so bear with me. Fortunately, I got very lucky in that when I was purging a bunch of Call of Cthulhu books a couple of years ago. These were two books I held on to, the Malleus Monstrorum, and I'm very happy I held on to these. So I should still have the serpent... So the serpent people should be in here. So I can get something resembling an accuracy rating. So I can get something resembling accuracy. Here we are. They're attacking me with their tail, so I think that we'll call that a... So we need to try to get away from the serpent people, but they're attacking us for D3 plus dodge bonus, which their damage bonus is going to be a 0, so we'll roll a D3 for that. So we take... So we're going to take 1 point of damage from that. Which will bring us down to 12 hit points. And now our next order of business needs to be protecting this package. And maybe chasing the serpent people away. So let's make a... So now we've been attacked by serpent people on this train. So what kind of a roll do I want to make on this one? Did he remember to bring a... Let's make a luck roll to see if he remembered to bring his 45... See if he remembered to bring some kind of weapon along with him. Now that we've kind of got taken by surprise. Once again, luck is a 25. That's a 97, and no, we didn't remember to bring a weapon. Let's see if there's something on the train. Or if we're near something on the train. That's another 97, so apparently there's nothing on the train. This is probably a passenger train, nobody thought we'd need it. So now we've got a big problem on our hands. So we need to try to protect the... So we need to try... I think our first order of business right now is going to try to protect the package. So we're going to make a... What kind of a roll do I want to make here? So we've been attacked by the serpent people with a tail swipe. Now let's go for... Let's try another dodge roll to see if we can get away from a further attack from the serpent people, or maybe they're coming at us with spells He might be deciding to come at us with spells this time. Actually, he's just going to be coming at us with another attack. So let's try to make a dodge roll, see if we can get away from him and make a break for the cargo bay. Wow. I think I need to get some new dice because that's a 92. We can't get away from him, which means he'll make a... I lost my D percentile in there. I should have another... I'll worry about that later, but he does... But we don't get away from the serpent people... So he's going to make a... Is there any kind of grapple check with these guys? I think it would probably be a brawling roll to see if he can... I think we'll call it fighting brawl at a 25 to see if the serpent people actually grabs on to us. So actually, let's do this a little bit differently. So we're going to make an opposed dodge versus brawl roll. Opposed dodge versus fighting brawl. So the premise of this opposed roll is we're trying to get away versus the serpent people versus the serpent person trying to grab us. Trying to grab and bite us. Alright, so we'll see what happens here. Our brawl is actually our dodge is what we're rolling here, is a 27. That's a 6, so that'll be an extreme success for us. 27 divided by 2 is 13, divided by 2 again is 6, so yeah, just barely an extreme success. Versus a fighting brawl of a 25. That's a 72. So we succeed and break loose. So, succeed, break loose. Now I think we might need to try to get off this train. Because, well, actually the next question that we probably should ask is, as we make our way to the package, we know the serpent person is after us. Would it cause the serpent person that's after us to react in fury? Without knowing more about what this package is, I'm going to call it a 50-50 roll. So we're going to call it a possibly. So we're going for the package now. Serpent person react to us grabbing package. So I'll make a roll and a yes/no for that. And again, this is a 50-50 roll. That's a 33, so no, he doesn't react. No extra reaction, I don't think. Okay, so no. So what do I want? So what do I want to do with that? I think I want a little bit more clarification on what happens here. So I'm going to go to the verbs table and make a couple of rolls. Because I want to get some more. I want to try to get a little more clarification to maybe flesh out the scene a little bit more. So let's make a couple of verb rolls. That's a 217. By the way, how I'm rolling the verbs is the verbs go from 1 to 499. So I'm rolling it season ticket style, where I'm taking the d6 minus 1. So a 3 in this case would make the hundreds digit be a 2. So I'm looking at 217 on the verbs table. This is escape. Okay, yeah, we can definitely work with escape. Up. 275 is grieve. And 140 is decompose. I don't think decompose works here, but I think I can work with escape and grieve. So I think for escape, I'm going to make one last dodge roll to try to get off this train. Dodge roll. We're going to make a dodge roll versus. We're going to make another opposed roll. Dodge roll versus fighting brawl. So this is going to be another opposed roll. This time, the goal here is escape the train versus maybe they see the package and he's gonna lash out, try to smash it. Which we know there's some kind of blast from that. We learned that back in entry. I know we needed a verbs roll to get that, but I don't remember where it was. Was it entry? All we know is that we weren't supposed to open it. Did we learn about a blast? I thought we learned about a blast somewhere. We don't. We know we're not supposed to open it, but I think it was entry 2 where we learned about some kind of blast from inside the package, right? There would be a huge blast. So we don't know what the details of the blast are, but so yeah, we'll say the Serpent People is trying to smash the package since they see it's important to us for whatever reason. So they're going to try to smash it. So that will be a. All right, so we'll make our dodge roll, which once again is a 27. That's a 39, so we fail that roll. Their fighting brawl is a 25, so 39, which for us is a failure. So they're going with a fighting brawl of a 25. That's a 62. So we both failed, but since our roll is higher, yes. I think based on the higher level, so whichever one's closer to passing is the one that wins. So we win the roll. And now we're going to make a... Now I want to make one more roll to try to get off the train. But I'm trying to think of what roll I want to make. I could have made a stealth roll earlier. But actually, stealth might have been... let's make a luck roll to see if the door's open. See if well, the door probably wouldn't open because the train is in motion, but I think the luck roll here is going to be, can we open the train? Doesn't seem likely that we'd be able to, but let's give it a try here. We need to figure out some way to get off this train. That's a 10, so shockingly, what we discover actually from that is we discover that when the serpent people went to smash the train, they actually missed us and smashed the door, so we can get off the train. Okay, so yeah, we can work with that. So we'll make one more roll. Now we're trying to, so realize still on the train. So we realize that the door's open from the serpent people's tail attack smashing the door. So now we're going to try one more roll. So this is basically going to be the same one that we had before, trying to escape the train. Now that we realize that the door has actually been smashed. So we'll try this again. So we've got our dodge roll, which is a 27. That's a 4. That'll be an extreme success. So unless they roll a 3 or less, we are probably getting off this train. That's an 8, which is another extreme success, but we actually have the higher success there, so we will pass that. So we win and escape the train. So we managed to get off the train. We'll make another luck roll of, let's make a stealth roll to see if we're able to hide ourselves. Because we're gonna have to run for a little bit. Let's see if we can make a stealth roll to try to escape. Try to escape pursuit. So our stealth roll in this case is a 30. That's a 56, so we failed that. Let's see. I'm going to push that roll on the risk of potentially blundering into a colony of serpent people. Push roll at risk of group. So the goal here is still to get away, but if we fail the pushed roll, we're probably going to blunder into the group of serpent people. So let's see what happens here. That's a 63, so we fail the roll even worse, and we are going to blunder into a group of serpent people. Okay. Alright, so let's see if we can... Alright, yeah. I think there... So we're into a group of serpent people. Let's see if we can find out what happens. I'm going to roll on the verbs table to see if we can get some guidance on story clarification here, where I want to take this, now that we've been captured by a group of serpent people. And we're definitely bumping the Mythos when this is all said and done. Let's see, that's going to be a 326. 326. Love. That makes exactly no sense in our current situation, so I suspect we'll be disregarding that. And Doug, if you have anything as we're rolling through verbs trying to make sense of this, feel free to chip in with them in the chat. Like I said, love at a glance to me makes absolutely no sense in our current situation of just being captured by serpent people. But if you've got a way to make it work, I'm all ears. Let's see, a 65 is bet. Also doesn't seem to work at a glance. Let's see, what is that? 439. Solicit. I could possibly do something with solicit, but I don't like love or bet, so I'm going to make 2 more rolls on the verb table and see if I can do anything with that. Let's see, 309, actually 209 is enroll. Also doesn't really make sense. And a 40, babble. Okay, I think I can work with that. So, if I disregard love, bet, and enroll, because none of those make sense. So we blunder into a group of serpent people, realize that we happen on another group of serpent people, realize that there's no escape at this point. I wonder if we recognize the language that they're speaking, or if it's just all babbling nonsense at this point. We're going to call it... I'm going to call it... I'm going to call it possible, but not... I was going to say unlikely, but I'll go possible. Oop, I don't need the D6. That's a 16, so no, I don't recognize it. It's all just kind of, it's all nonsense to me. Clearly a language I can't speak, so it's all babble to me. We try to solicit favor. They go to attack us. They go to attack again. And I think we're just going to, I think this time we're going to, I think the serpent people, I think the group is just going to knock us out this time. With D3 plus damage bonus, so they'll knock us out for another 2 damage. And I think once we make this journal entry, so we're down to 10 health. I'm just going to make some notes here. We'll make one more journal entry, and I think that's where we're going to call it a stream. So we're at 10 health, 30 sanity, 25 luck. Alright, so once again, I'm going to go into Be Right Back, but I will be around to interact with chat as usual while I make this last journal entry. Let's see here. Okay. I'm also going to bump the Mythos out of that, but we'll come back to that when I get done. Once I get this journal entry done, we'll come back to bumping the Mythos. Okay. Tabbing back in, and let's go through our last journal entry for this one. So this is August 25th, 1926. We're still on the train headed to San Francisco. The train ride passed mostly uneventfully until right before we got to San Francisco. I looked out the window and saw something strange. It looked almost like a snake, but seemed almost humanoid. I had no idea what it was, but I knew I had to get away, especially after it spotted me. Its tail swiped at me, and I recoiled in pain, but I had to get the package and protect it. This thing followed me as I headed for the cargo bay. I couldn't find anything on the way to defend myself, and I forgot my gun at home. I don't know why I didn't pack it. I should have for this trip. It grabbed me, but I was able to dodge out of the way. Fortunately, this serpent person didn't react to the package other than trying to smash it. I managed to protect the package, but I realized we were on the train. When I got to the door, though, I realized the door had been smashed and was now open. The thing made one more attack, but I was able to get away from it and escape the train, package in hand. I tried to escape pursuit from the initial thing, but I couldn't get away and was eventually cornered by another group of the same things. I realized I couldn't understand their talking, so I offered the package up to try to win some favor with them. Another tail swipe knocked me out, though. So I'm going to make 2 more rolls coming out of this. I'm going to call that a terrifying... Actually, let me look at the level here. So we're going to call that... It's definitely terrifying when something like that attacks you. When something like this happens. So terrifying... I'm going to bump the Mythos by 5 up to 13 Mythos. Which will trigger another sanity roll on a 30. That's an 88, so we will fail that, losing D4 plus 1 sanity. That's another 2 sanity lost, so we're actually down to 28 sanity. The other roll I'm going to make here is, as we listen to the we're going to back up for a second and add in one more detail. So as we listen to the babble that the serpent people are going through, the last question I thought of as I was going through that journal entry is do we recognize it as being the same? I'm wondering if that's going to be, if we recognize it as being the same as what's in the package. So I'm deciding if I want to make that a luck roll or just a simple yes/no roll. Let's make that... Let's make that a yes/no roll. You know what? Let's make that a luck roll. I feel like that would be something Lady Luck would have to have on our backs. I feel like there's something Lady Luck would have to be smiling down on us for. No, it's not the same. That's not the same. Actually, that's a 74, which turns into a... I think I said that with an unlikely, so that's a 54, that's a maybe. I'm just going to say that... I'm just going to say that, yes, it is actually the same language. So we don't necessarily understand it, but we realize it's the same. But we realize the language in the package is the same as what's coming from the serpent people. So I'll add that detail in. So we recognize that right before we get knocked out by the tail swipe. As serpent people. So we'll add that detail in. We'll add that detail in on the journal entry. Actually, let's do it. I realized I couldn't. Okay, I think it makes more sense to put it here. Alright, so backing up a little bit back into the journal entry, this is the detail I added. I tried to escape pursuit from the initial thing, but I couldn't get away and was eventually cornered by another group of the same things. I realized I couldn't understand their talking, but I recognized their talking as the same language as what was coming from the box. So I offered the package up to try to win some favor with them. Another tail swipe knocked me out, though. So I did want to add in that detail of do we recognize it as being the same language as is what's coming out from the group of serpent people. But that will do it for this session of Call of Cthulhu. We are definitely going to come back to this story. So Nick Larson has just been knocked out after being ambushed by a group of serpent people. So we'll be picking that up with him at some point in the future, I'm sure. But we've got a lot of busy stuff coming up on the channel. Later this afternoon, probably this evening, I'm thinking, but don't hold me to it, we're going to have week 5 of my 1972 Momentum football season replay. Let me pull the feature game out here. The Minnesota Vikings will be at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado to take on the Denver Broncos. Wednesday, we're jumping back up in our Night Fighter Ace in Compass. We're jumping back up in our German Night Fighter as we play Night Fighter Ace from Compass Games. And Saturday, Mystical Munchies will continue out of the official Catan cookbook with the side 7-grain bread. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.